So moving on to the S for spark, I don't know if I even need to ask you this because I think it's very clear where you get your spark from. But where do you get your spark from on a daily basis? So when you've got to get up out of bed and you think, right, I've got 17 meetings about the festival, I've got to find a tent, get the security booked in. How do you get up and get your spark going for the day?
I'm a really visual person. So, I paint pictures in my mind. And so, luckily, when I feel bogged down in tasks and jobs and day-to-day stuff like that, and actually that can be really overwhelming sometimes. Like even this week, I've had a few things that have been like pulled, people drop out on stuff. And when 5 or 6 things like that happen in the same week, I'm like, oh no, it's all
The wheels
falling
are coming off.
apart. It's really easy to be dramatic about that and put the wheels are coming off. But actually, what gives me my spark and keeps that alive is I have got it like a movie in my mind as each year. So I know I've got previous years to go on, but this year, especially because we've moved venue, I've created this movie in my mind of exactly what this year's festival looks like, sounds like, smells like, feels like, all of that stuff. I'm a very sensory person in that sense. And that's what gives me spark. All I have to do is kind of have a minute. Sometimes I have to shut my eyes and I play that movie. And that's enough to reignite, to put the flint back in my lighter so that I've got some
Yeah.
spark to keep going. I have to dig deep. I do have to dig deep for that sometimes. It's not always easy, but I come back to that, and it's like the bits of feedback, like one of my favourite ones ever. This was after the 2022 festival, actually, but it's been endorsed by lots of people. One woman wrote to me after the festival and she said, just this quote that it said, she went, I walked out of Womanifest feeling like a completely different woman than when I walked in. And I've had so many people say to me, this event changed my life. I made the biggest decisions ever for good after I came to this festival. People said I was on cloud 9. I felt like I could take on the world. It's all those kinds of things. They what give me spark.
Yeah. I mean that is a
Only
brilliant
have to
legacy,
remember
isn't
them,
it?
and that's enough.
To hear that from people. That to,
Yeah.
'cause
If
that's
somebody goes to something for a weekend or a day, and they walk out feeling like a different woman than when they walked in, I'm like, boom, job
yeah,
done.
that you've achieved your goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on your mind movies
Mm,
thing, is that a
yeah.
technique that you've taught yourself or learned, or have you always been like that growing up?
Just just always been like that. I was proper little. I had a wild imagination as a kid. I had imaginary friends and all kinds of stuff like that, and I can still picture my imaginary friends now. Like I know where I was when I would talk to them. I can see I can still play them all as
Mm,
movies. So no, I just think it's something that I've just always
yeah.
had. That I dream. I've always been a dreamer. I think the thing is, I've just started to take action and turn dreams into reality. And once I did it once, I was like, oh my God, they don't have to just be dreams. You can actually do something with these. It is possible. And then that just made me believe in the art of the possible more, to the point that some people think, oh my God, she's lost the plot. They're like, you can't do that. And I'm like, yes, we can.
Yeah.
I don't believe that anything is impossible anymore. I read a book once. Don't know if you've heard of it. It's by a woman called Marie Forleo. And the book's called Everything is Figure Outable.
I know I've heard that one.
And I loved
Yeah.
it. Yeah, well, highly recommend you read it. She's an American lady. But yeah, the book is Everything is Figure Outable. And that was a great one for me as an adult to be like, right, well, nothing is a showstopper. I always believe there's an answer to everything. If I'm stuck, there is an answer. I just haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
Which gives me a bit of tenacity and a bit of grit to keep going. Whereas some people go, oh, well, there's no point. There's no point because it's impossible. We can't do anything about it. There's nothing we can do. I hate phrases like that. I hate somebody saying to me, there's nothing we can do. I'm like, what a load of
Yeah.
rubbish. There's always something you can do. It might not solve the whole puzzle, it might not fix the whole problem, but there is always something you can do that might just make it 1% better. And for me, 1%'s worth
Yeah.
it. So I would always do the 1%. I'd be like, fine, I'll do that. Because then if I do that, it changes things. 1% changes things, and therefore new opportunities might come off that 1%. A new door might open. It might give me another option after that.
Yeah.
So I never, yeah, I don't know, but that I think that that's down to a degree of tenacity and grit and perseverance. And what I noticed, I'm going to sound like I'm blowing smoke up my own backside now, and I don't mean it like that. But what I notice in these modern day times is people throw the towel in really easily. You know, like when kids go, you know, you ask your kids to take them washing upstairs and like, oh, mum, that's
Yeah.
effort. You know, they're like effort in it. You know, nobody wants to do effort anymore. People want things to be easy. You know, it's like you can go on Amazon and order your loo roll by pressing a button next to your
Yeah.
toilet and it gets dropped off tomorrow. You know, I can go on the Morrison's website, there are other supermarkets, and order Prosecco and it can be on my doorstep in 20 minutes. I didn't have to leave the house. You don't have to put in any effort, but that means for the things that really matter, nobody can be bothered to do hard stuff or try and figure things out. We just want ease,
Mm.
and that makes me sad.
Yeah. I really resonate with that.
I like doing hard things.
Yeah. And I think it is,
I like doing hard things. I like doing hard
yeah.
work.
And if we go back to that whole social media thing, it's like it's always like lose 20 pounds in 1 week or do this one hack, and
Yeah,
nothing's ever like, well, actually, if you just ate well and exercised and moved a bit, you'd just be healthier overall. And that's boring, isn't it? And
yeah,
requires effort, as you say. So yeah.
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? I am partial to a bit of instant gratification. You know, the example I always use with that is, you know, if you're decorating at home, I never want to do the edges. I only want to do the rollering.
Yeah.
Because the edges mean I have to tape everywhere up first, and then I have to be really careful. You know, and so you can spend hours and you don't see that much return for the time you've put
Yeah.
in. Whereas if you hand me the roller and I get to do the big bit in the middle, after 10 minutes, I've painted
Yeah.
loads. You know, so I get it, and I do enjoy instant gratification. But when it really comes down to the crunch on the things that matter most to me, I know that you've got to go the hard yard
Yeah.
sometimes.
And I think perhaps you having that clear vision, though, because, visualization, as we know now, I think we know more than ever about it, about how powerful it is for manifesting, um, as it feeds into the will manifest. So I think, yeah, having that, it must be really great to be able to tap into that visual image and keep your spark going.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it, definitely.